So today I have the great privilege of meeting and talking with Matthieu Accad. Matthieu is originally from Lebanon. He and his family have been part of the Crossroads family since 2012, and he is a director of an international organization that we support. And so I had the privilege to visit the ministry in Lebanon a couple of years. And so I've been a couple of times over the last few years. And it was because of that, I was able to build some relationships and just see firsthand what kind of great ministry is happening out there and the amazing people. And so you can imagine as I saw the news on Tuesday, in terms of the huge explosion that hit Beirut and the devastation that it caused, I wanted to know what was happening. And the news was not sufficient. It was not pinpointed enough to the people that I care about. And so I wanted to talk with Matthieu and just hear more what was happening. And I knew that there would be other people in our body that would also want to know. And so I've invited Matthieu in today just to share more about what's been happening in his country and how it impacts the ministry there. And so for those who don't know, Matthieu, on Tuesday, as you well know, there was this massive, massive explosion that happened in Beirut near the port. And they say that over 300,000 homes have been destroyed. They're saying 4,000 people are still injured, people are missing, people are dead. It's been a devastating event. And so I just wanted to ask you, and first, thank you for coming in. But I just wanted to ask you if you could share a little bit in terms of what that means for your country. I know it's very complex.
First of all, thank you for having me, Tracy. When you hear about something like this, for me, someone with my age, it just automatically reminds him of the Lebanese war that we passed through, since '75 till 1990 when the war stopped, and it just like you would say, not again, kind of thing, and it just when you talk about it, like you have goosebumps, like you feel like why is it happening again? So and to see that in that it's a disaster. When I saw it, I was like, I couldn't believe my eyes to see that happening in Beirut. And for those of you who know, Beirut is the engine of Lebanon, and it drives, and like everything goes through that port, and the supplies, medical, etc. Like everything goes through that port. So to see that happening, it's devastating. And looking at it, I believe it's going to take like months, if not a year plus, just to start over again. And for me, it feels like as if this country it's not enough, and it's back again to see something evil like this happening again and again. And also, when I don't know how to say that, every time you talk to someone, he or she would know somebody that got hurt in that explosion. Like someone passed through there, or somebody lives there. The impact of that explosion was so big, where it's not only in Beirut, but even the suburbans got also damaged. And most of the ministries we work upon, work in those areas, they all got affected by that, whether directly or indirectly. Most of the injuries, of course, happened because of the windows and glass scattered all over. Most of the people told me it's not only a broken window, but the whole frame of the window, the whole doors were taken out of their place. And that is to give you an idea how big that explosion was. So people at this stage are not thinking, of course, they're cleaning up, but even fixing, it's not even under their radar. It's just cleaning up. Lebanon had already its share of going through bankruptcy. I don't know if it's legal bankrupt, but the country has passed through very tough economical times, and
still passing through.
And still passing through.
Yeah.
If you asked me this question a month ago, I will tell you we had already problems with the economy. We lost 80% of our we lost 80% of our money value, which means whatever you was able to buy for $100 is now 800 times more. And it's so more expensive, and you can't even find things. So just put our situation right now and add it on top of what they had, it's, I don't know what you call it other than a disaster. I don't know what you would call it.
So Matthieu, you started to go there, but can you share for those of us who have relationship with people in Lebanon and know you, what is the impact on your family? Are they okay? On your team, how is the ministry holding up?
Well, I did have some of our family that got injured, and some from the team that got injured as well. They're all out of the hospital right now. But how it impacted it, like I said, it shocked the whole country in general. Like, everyone is in shock to see the situation. Ministry-wise, we already have been suffering from lack of like to keep the ministry going. And since COVID has hit, like every other country, most of ministries, like they kind of went down to 50% capacity. But at the same time, ministry is growing. Like, I know you would say, how does that make sense? Because
only in God's economy.
Exactly. Like when you see, for the reason why I say that, because one of the things it's important to know that whatever happens in Lebanon, it impacts Syria indirectly. And, we have ministries both in Lebanon and in Syria. And whatever happens in Syria indirectly happens, like it impacts Lebanon. So when the Syrian war started, we suddenly had like an overflow of people coming in the country, and then what do we do about it? Lebanese can barely take care of their own work and jobs, and now they can't keep up with the number. And now with the economy failing, it hits back on Syria, and same thing in Syria. Their money have lost, same like Lebanon, because most of the rich people, they put their money here, and so it's I don't know what you call it, but it's two countries kind of attached to each other, so they both get help me with the word.
Like a negative impact.
They will both be impacted.
They pull each other down.
Exactly. So if one goes down, it pulls the other. It did impact our ministries, and not only us, everyone's ministries, because of the financial burden that's there. And honestly, it's just hard to keep up with just keeping up with what we have. So when you add up 80% extra, suddenly you can imagine the impact that has on ministries and on people. It's like, to give you an example, when you tell the leaders, okay, we have 100 food packages that we prepared to go and help families that are in need. So imagine that person who is taking that food package doesn't even have food for his own family. So this is what we're seeing right now. It's everyone is impacted, whether you're a leader, whether you're just on a volunteer. Like you see that happening in both countries, and it is impacting our ministry a lot.
So I wish we had more time, but in the moments that we have, can you just let us know, how can we as your church family be praying for you, your family, your ministry, your country?
What I feel is like the most important prayer that I feel is for the leaders themselves. It's hard to go and minister when the leader is burdened out. They're burned out. They're suffering themselves, and they always wanna look as if they've
got it all together.
They've got it out, and they're not. And emotionally, they're not feeling good, and they feel down. And this is one of the hardest things to keep, is just to keep those leaders in your prayers, and praying for the sustainability of the ministries, praying that also that they see that their role is, what they're doing is not going in vain. After all, is like when you work in a place like Lebanon or in Syria, you feel like it's kind of an endless work, like, and it's not going to finish, and that puts a heaviness on the leaders and their teams, and what can we do to help, and when is enough. So that is a very, very important thing for us to pray for them, and
Great. Thank you, Matthieu. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and sharing from your heart. Please send greetings and let your team and your family know that we as a church, and me and the people that have been there, are praying for them and that they are not alone, even though it's really, really difficult right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for lifting up the nation of Lebanon during this difficult time. And as Matthieu has asked us, just that we pray for his team, as they are leaders who are drained and they need to be sustained during this difficult time. Their emotional strength and physical strength just needs to be really held up. And I believe that our prayers can help to be a part of that. And so I want to ask you to pray for them. As well, just to know, a brief update, I spoke with Matthieu since this was originally recorded, and he just let me know that even though things are hard, they wanted to kind of continue with some of the normal. And so they've done a kids camp. There's actually a kids camp happening this week, just ministering to kids in need, which is beautiful. And so it's just that idea that there is still hope. There is still ministry going on. And that's what we want to continue to ask, that God would continue to give the people strength and energy so they can do ministry, so they can continue to touch lives, and so that we can continue to see healing and hope and peace in places like Lebanon. And so thank you so much.